Quarantine? I got your quarantine. Quarantine? Quarantine I can take. Corona. Shh. We're outside. It's okay. I'm by myself. Let's see, is this thing rolling? Yeah, it's rolling. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Makeshift Man Cave today. We're here with Big T, coming at you with a cigar review. Got to empty out ye old trusty ashtray there real quick. So it's a little chilly out today. I believe it is about 36 degrees here in Howland, Michigan. And this is the 31st of, God, what month is it anymore? I can't remember. March. 31st of March. Still on quarantine lockdown here in Michigan. Not what I would consider a lockdown, basically just a stay-home order from the governor. Trying to minimize exposure, especially since I got youngins in the house and the wife. Fortunately for the wife, she is still considered essential, so she gets to go to work. However, Papa Bear gets to stay home with the kiddos. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, being a dad who works a lot, I never realized how hard it would be to stay home and take care of two little kids. I tell you what, guys, I don't know how my wife did it for so long, but she's a trooper. So, the cigar we are going to be reviewing today is not a Corona, but it is one that I've been meaning to review for quite some time. The first time I came out to try and review it, we had some power issues and we couldn't quite get the camera rolling good, so I wanted to get out here and review it for you guys. It did not come with cello on it, and the wrapper's got a couple cracks in it already. I'm just trying to keep it from getting worse so I can actually enjoy it, and so I can get you guys a review on it. So give me just a second here, we'll get set up, and then we shall start rolling. Did a few adjustments to the man cave. It's actually kind of messy out here right now. I got a lot of stuff out for the kiddos, bikes and whatnot. It's a fairly small garage. Just trying to give them something to do so they're not cooped up in the house all day. Well, the oldest of my two daughters anyway. She's 3 now. The youngest one is about 6 months, so she's fairly well content just staying inside. But Emma, my oldest, she's been going 90 for like the last 90 days, man. It's been crazy. So trying to give her something to do. And trying to keep it constructive. You know, I don't want to just sit her down in front of the television and all that junk. I don't have cable television, so that's a plus. Can't just turn it to the Nickelodeon channel and have at it. Okay, so the cigar we are going to be smoking today was a gift to me from Robert Labash, my good friend Robert Labash. This is the BG Meyer, and this is the Gigantes, I believe is how you pronounce it, Gigantes line. This brand is by Camacho. The blender was Rob Weiss, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. W-E-I-S-S. Rob Weiss. Let's see. It's supposed to be full-bodied. Crafted to pay homage to the pioneers of bold character. People who speak their minds when no one else would. The tobacco in this cigar is aged for at least 20 years, it said. It's got a Nicaraguan Habano wrapper, a Brazilian Matafina binder, And then the filler is a mix of Nicaraguan and Dominican Republic long filler. So this is what it looks like. Let's see if I can get a decent picture here for you guys. This camera on the phone here doesn't like to focus too well, but you can kind of get the gist of it. You can see a slight discoloration there. There's a tiny little tear there. There's a pretty decent sized crack in the wrapper there. Again, sorry this isn't focusing so well, but I'm working with what I got. The discoloration on the wrapper is actually a flake of the wrapper that has come off. So that's the binder that you're seeing under there with the lighter color. So it's a very nice looking cigar, or at least it was, before we got all the cracks and stuff in it. The band on it, I don't know if you can really see the detail. Oh, come on. Anywho, the band on it, there's like this embossing around the edges here. Kind of reminds me of like bottle caps, like beer bottle caps, like little ridges almost. It's kind of a neat band. It's all black, and then the BGM on the front just says the BGM company underneath. But the black band itself is interesting because it's all the same color, so it's like a glossy black finish, but it's got a lot of intricate design work and stuff on it. I'll see if I can get a better picture of it for you guys later. I'm going to try and leave that on as long as I can, just to kind of hold the wrapper together a little bit, keep it from falling apart. This is a very firmly rolled cigar, so hopefully it stays together fairly well. I think the wrapper is just very thin. It's a very thin leaf, it looks like, so that's probably why. And I've had some temperature and humidity fluctuations over the last few weeks rather, in the humidor, just because I just have a little small desktop. It's not like climate control. I got Movida packs and Zycar tins and all kinds of shit in there. Just trying to keep the humidity right. And here in Michigan, it's been getting cold and snowing, and then it gets hot, and it's nice out, 50 degrees. It's crazy. So, wrapper, kind of like a sweet tobacco with that slight mustiness in there. Basically just sweet tobacco on the foot. Looks like it's very tightly packed. It's a little loose down the middle, and then towards the outside it's a little more packed. Looks like a nice, probably at least a double cap, if not a triple. So as I said, I did start trying to review this before, so I got all the homework down. That's a good thing. This comes in 4 sizes. A short Robusto, which is a 4x52. A regular Robusto, or Robusto, as Rob likes to call them, 5x54, the Gordo, which is a 6x56, and then they also have another Gordo, which they didn't change the name on, but that's a 7x60. So the second Gordo, the 7x60, I would dare say that's almost like a fat Churchill, basically. And this one, 4, 5, this is probably the regular Robusto, if I had to guess. It looks like about a 54 ring gauge, and it's probably about 5.5 long with the cap. So it should be the Robusto, I do believe. Just gauge it one more time here. Yeah, it's a Robusto, which is what I would expect. Brother Rob usually gets the Robustos, so. So it does have a semi-oily wrapper. It was more oily the first time I took it out. Some kind of dark splotches here and there. Lots of veins. It's not too lumpy and bumpy though. It's fairly sleek. It's kind of nice. Kind of nice looking. But let's get this cut, fired up. We'll try not to handle it too much. Just to keep that wrapper from cracking more, because I can already see some more cracks starting to form. So let's get this thing. I never used to wet the head of it before I cut, but now that's become a normal thing for me. especially on wrappers that are dry, and I'll show you why. So being that this wrapper, I don't necessarily know that it's dry per se, but it is very thin. So as I cut it, we got giant crack in it now. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see if maybe we can just kind of, okay. So we're going to pull that off. You can see the binder under there. Handling problem. I'm not going to dock any points for that. Very loose draw. Got sweet tobacco. Very loose draw. Makes me wonder if there's a crack all the way through somewhere. Hope not. This would be the first time I've actually got an interesting flavor, like a licorice, so like an anise or anise. That's the first time I've had that on a cold draw. Interesting. No pepper on the lips. So we'll see what the, and now the lighter's cold. We'll see what the pepper profile is on this, if there is one. While we're waiting for that to warm up. So it said that the tobacco has been aged for 20 years. The wrapper, so the Nicaraguan Habano wrapper, was cultivated in 2007. The Brazilian Matafina binder was aged for 6 years. And it looks like the filler was also aged for at least 6 years. So I'm not exactly sure where the 20 years of age comes from that they mentioned, but maybe they're talking about combined. Who knows? We already went through the sizes. So it's said that on CI, so Cigars International, is where I get most of my homework from. It says bold notes of black pepper, licorice, hey, and lingering sweet spice, and a hint of leather is what it says. So I can definitely see the licorice because I mentioned the anise or anise, however you want to pronounce it. And that sweet spice might be contributing to that. I almost have a feeling like there's something fruity in there too. Can't really tell if it's kind of berry or maybe like it's almost like a citrus, so like an orange peel maybe. And the more I do the cold draw on this, I'm starting to get a little bit of a pepper tingle on the lips. So, all right, torch is heated up enough to work. I did clean it today. It was getting a little blacker on the burners, and this is my nice quad jet Vertigo, and it has a little mirror in there. I'll show you. I think I've shown it in a couple of videos, but I'll show you again, which I like personally because as you're lighting the cigar, you can actually see the tip of the cigar to see if it's actually lit or not without having to take it out of your mouth. Definitely some black pepper on the retro, along with some of those spices that they're talking about. Oh yeah, definitely black pepper on the retro. And the sweet spices, along with whatever that fruity note is, definitely comes out in the retro as well. I will say this is unlike pretty much any other cigar I've had. Seems like I tend to gravitate towards a lot of Nicaraguan tobaccos. which this has. But I also know, not so much from experience, but just after watching other reviewers and different cigars, that Brazilian Matafina binder, say that 10 times fast, that binder, that leaf in general, tends to offer a lot of flavor profile when it's rolled into a cigar. So I'm going to smoke on this a little bit, jot down a few of my notes from the cold draw and stuff like that, get that caught up to speed. So far, the burn, I think I lit it pretty well. The burn's pretty even, right? You got a little bit of a coastline there, but so we'll see how she burns. I already said I'm not going to dock any points on the construction for the wrapper issues with the cracks and whatnot. That's my fault. I'll take the blame for that. That is a very light draw, though. I'm not used to that. So let me smoke on this for a little bit, guys, and I'll be back. Hold tight. So this whole quarantine business has gotten me a little bored sitting around the house, right? And thanks to a friend, I have picked up a new hobby, something that I can kind of pass the time with while I'm out here smoking. A few of you guys might know what these are, right? Throwing knives, right? Love it. These are very cheap ones, about 10 bucks, Amazon. Comes with a nice little sheath for them, just nylon sheath. I bought my friend Anthony a set of these, and he loved them. Great starter ones. Very, very new to this. I've always been more of a gun guy, which I like too, but these are cheaper. You don't have to keep buying your ammo, so. Anthony's been working with me a little bit, kind of showing me the ropes, because if I do say so myself, he's a very good knife thrower. So he's been showing me a few things. He came over yesterday. We did a couple rounds, kind of throwing these. He's got a couple of nice spikes that another one of our friends made him. Those are pretty fun to throw. And I seem to be getting somewhat the hang of it so far, right? I'm going to make a fool of myself. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's pretty fun. It's nice to do. Gives you a little bit of a pastime hobby, right? Yeah. It's fun, guys. What can I say? It's really fun. You should try it. I think you might like it. All right, guys. So, we are well into the first third here. If you can see, got about 1 inch of ash on the end there. Lighting's a little crappy right now, but it is like a very light gray / white. It looks very compact, but on the outside it also looks very flaky, probably due to that wrapper, or possibly even the binder. When we started, I mentioned on the cold draw it seemed very loose draw. It's starting to tighten up just a little bit, so there might have been some cracks in the binder itself as well. So hopefully that doesn't affect us too much. Predominant flavors in this first third. You got that black pepper finish that just kind of rests on the back of your tongue. For that, glad I brought a water. Straight up water today, guys. Got to stay hydrated. That's part of keeping your immune system up. Fight off this crap we're going through. There is a slight bit of anise sweetness on that finish as well. But your predominant flavor, rather, right now is just that earthy black pepper tobacco. We're going to see how long this ash holds on. I didn't want to tip it off yet. When it does finally come off, I will check it to see how actually compact it is. A nice thing to know about these cigars, no shoe shine. So again, you probably can't see it too well because the lighting sucks. Now you can't really see it. No shoe shine on this, so that dark chocolatey wrapper. My memory is horrible, guys. It's horrible. This was a... I can barely remember. Oh, the Nicaraguan Habano. So the Nicaraguan Habano wrapper was stated as being dark chocolatey looking. That is what I'm seeing here, minus a few defects. A dark chocolatey wrapper, no shoe shine, which means that is the original color of that leaf. And it's beautiful. Personally, I can tell that this is a Habano wrapper. That earthiness that I mentioned, the earthy the earthy black pepper, is what I have experienced with most Habano wrappers. Now, when you start getting into Habano filler, binder, it kind of adds a different flavor in it as well. So far, so good. Very enjoyable cigar. The burn is still going fairly well. You got a little bit of a coastline on it yet, but again, that's probably due to the wrapper defects that I caused. Nothing to do with the cigar itself. So, or at least I couldn't say. It's burning fairly well. I've set it down a few times as I was kind of throwing some knives back and forth, and it stayed lit. So that ash does help insulate it a little bit, I know, but so far this one is burning very well. A lot of cigars I bring out here, more so the average, everyday, cheaper sticks, if you will, you can set it down for a couple minutes while you're throwing, and then it takes a little bit to get it going again. This one, not so much. So that's good. Nice pastime cigar. The smoke's not super heavy. It's kind of light and lofty as you let it out on the exhale. It's not a very thick smoke, but it does deliver the flavor fairly well. Like I said, mainly on the retro is where I'm getting a lot of the flavor. That black pepper in the back of the tongue, a little bit of the anise on the end of the retrohale there, just to give it that little bit of a sweetness. That citrusy orange peel kind of note that I said that was in there has kind of gone away. We'll see what happens once the ash drops off, if that'll change it. Like I mentioned, the draw has tightened up a little bit. That could also be because of the ash. So we'll see what happens once that drops off. I'm going to keep smoking this a little bit, and we'll see how this progresses. Stay tuned. I'm telling you, shit's fun, man. Check this out. Granted, that's really close, but I'm a beginner. That's tight grouping. I dare say that's tighter grouping than when I'm shooting. Sad to say. That needs a little practice too. Unfortunately, they shut down the range, so. And one of these isn't even a throwing knife. It's a pocket knife. It's got a good weight to it, though. I love it. See what you did, Anthony? Okay, guys, so the ash just dropped off of this. It dropped while I was standing, unfortunately. So it had a long fall to the floor. However, when it landed, it looks very flaky, very powdery. So we had got a good inch and a half on there before it fell off. So not too shabby. A little bit of time to get it to ashtray. I just wasn't really expecting that. So we are down to where that main, what I would call almost halfway, where that main crack was in the wrapper. Never mind the redneck band-aid on my finger there. First battle wound from my new hobby. So can't really see it. Crappy camera, I know. But that crack is kind of ascended or descended, however you want to look at it, towards the head. So hopefully that doesn't crack too far. There's a little bit of a bulge just because of the heat making the binder and filler expand a little bit and the wrapper not being solid enough to hold it. So there is a nice aroma coming off of the cigar, kind of that light anise smell, and then a little bit of that citrus note in the aroma as well. Now that the ash has dropped off, just that first puff there, I'm starting to get that anise flavor back, so the licorice flavor, and then that slight orange peel flavor also has come back. So with this cigar in particular, you might consider tipping that ash off sooner. That might make the experience a little bit better, especially if it's going to let the cigar breathe a little more and let those flavors through a little more. Still got that nice earthy black pepper on the finish, in the back of the tongue. And now that the ash has dropped off, you can't really tell on the camera. Well, maybe a little bit. This thing is just bellowing smoke. I don't know if you can see that. I'm wearing light colors today, so not very good contrast, but you can kind of see it there. It's just bellowing smoke now. Again, that might be partially because of that crack in the wrapper. So it wasn't really bellowing too much, just resting in the ashtray, but I don't know that I'll have to do a purge on this one. A lot of the cigars I smoke, the flavors tend to get a little muddled towards the end. And my end-all be-all solution to that usually is I give it a nice fresh clip on the head, on the cap. Purge it out, so blow through with the lighter, kind of burn off those extra gases and stuff, kind of trap that filter through the tobacco. Burn that off, give it a nice light, make sure it's rolling pretty well. And usually that straightens out the flavor a little bit. I don't know that I'll have to do that with this one. Looking at the cap, it is very saturated, just from smoking it, obviously. Not around the outside, but just on the, just on the end. And I don't know if I've talked about this before. If I have, forgive me for repeating myself. But what happens when the cap of your cigar or the head of your cigar gets damp and wet, and from all that stuff, all the oils and stuff from the tobacco kind of filtering through as you draw. What can happen, and what usually happens, is it kind of collects at the end, your tar buildup, nicotine buildup, whatever you want to call it, kind of gathers at the head there, and that could actually mask any of the flavors that are coming from the tobacco itself. So I try to keep that clean. When it comes to cigars, unless it's like an average everyday yard guard, I'm a little meticulous when I, especially with the lighting, like my burn's getting a little uneven now, so I might touch that up. Probably just because of that crack in the wrapper. What was I saying? Oh, yes. I'm very meticulous when it comes to smoking some cigars, especially if it's a good cigar. I like my burn to be even, and I don't like muddled flavors. So you might see me doing a lot of that in my videos. That's just my way of kind of working around that problem. Side note, I have decided to get cable television, just a standard package, mainly for the Wi-Fi internet. because I use a certain carrier, I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but I do have hotspot available on my phone, which is what I also use for my camera. However, all the internet I use is off my hotspot, and for some reason inside these cheap apartments, I don't know why I call them cheap, because I'm paying almost $1,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment, but inside the apartment building, my signal is very shoddy, which affects my download speeds, upload speeds, yada yada, you know the gig. So we got that coming today. Interesting fact with this whole coronavirus business, it actually costed me less because they're going to drop off the box and all that stuff. I'm going to hook it up myself, and they're not going to charge me their little $70 connection fee. So that's nice. Back to the cigar. So the more earthy tobacco is kind of coming through, which I would expect it to be probably that Nicaraguan filler is what I'm kind of tasting now. I got a little bit of a cone, so I might be smoking it a little fast, and that wrapper is starting to shed away a little bit from the heat. You can see that little piece there. It's about ready to kind of take a tumble. So not the prettiest looking cigar at this point. But I do still love that dark chocolatey color of the wrapper. That's nice. Yep, so we're definitely getting more of the Nicaraguan filler now. And I can taste that the Dominican... so the Dominican twang, right? I've talked about that a couple times, I believe, and I know I've heard other reviewers talk about it as well. That Dominican twang is almost like a sweet, it's almost like a sweet medicinal note that kind of rolls off your tongue on the exhale. Very interesting indeed. I'm going to smoke on this a little bit more. Jot down some more notes, take this Band-Aid off before it cuts off my circulation, and I'll be back. Hang tight, guys. All right, folks, so we're getting into that last third here. Getting closer to the band. That split just keeps on trucking, guys. I can't really stop that, but I did have to touch it up once. It was starting to burn a little more on one side than the other. Like I said, I'm kind of meticulous, so we went ahead and cleaned that up a little bit. Pardon me just a second, guys. I'm going to turn the radio down. Got GRD playing. I don't want any copyright infringement strikes, right? So we're going to turn that down. Plus, I don't know if the camera picks it up or not, so... but I want you to be able to hear me. So, touched it up a little bit. Burn's going fairly even again. We did have a second ash drop at about another inch of ash since the last one. Inch and a half, so fairly consistent on that. Still got the earthy Nicaraguan tobacco in there as kind of like your main core. The black pepper finish is kind of tapered off a little bit. Still kind of lingering, but it's not as heavy as it was. Still got that slight Dominican twang in there. Thing is just still bellowing smoke. I'm going to go ahead and try and peel this band off of here ever so carefully. Try not to compromise the wrapper any more than I already have. Oh, that came off fairly easy, actually. They didn't overdo it on the glue, so that's good. The thing I've come to see with a lot of bands, primarily the cheaper ones usually, they put a lot of glue on that underside of the band, and that makes it kind of difficult to get off. Or if you've got like the really papery style bands, so like Leaf by Oscar, some of the My Father brands, or lines rather, have like a really papery type of wrapper as opposed to like a, I mean this is paper, but it's got like a coating on it, right? But a lot of the papery ones, they tend to stick to each other. On the back side of that band, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Signed BJ Meyer, or BG Meyer rather, not BJ, BG Meyer. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera. I'll try to take a better picture. There's like a little silhouette, man and his dog on the back there. Not exactly sure what the significance of that would be. Might have to do a little digging on that one. I'll try to get some good pictures of the front of this band. You can kind of see like the embossing on it, right? That design I was talking about. But I'll try to get some better pictures for you guys and throw them in there. Nice little band. I do save all my bands from all the cigars I smoke. I made, I had a phone case. Got rid of that. I'm working on making like a tumbler, like a coffee mug. Just got to get that ordered. And I have made like a nice portrait poster style with a lot of them on there. But my band box is filling up rather quickly, so I'm going to have to do something with them. So the Dominican twang is definitely in there now. And I can actually smell like the Dominican tobacco on the aroma of the cigar as well as from the retro, obviously. But Dominican tobacco, to me at least, seems to have its own distinct flavor with the Dominican twang, and it also has a very distinct smell. And I think the aroma that I'm getting is A, the Dominican, and then B, that Brazilian Matafina binder as well. That usually has a fairly good aroma and an excellent flavor, if I might add. I have decided I am not going to recut and purge this one. It's burning fairly well, and I don't want to destroy the integrity of what wrapper I have left. However, it is about 10:30 in the morning. Like I said, I'm waiting on the cable guy. Wife's got to go to work here in a few hours, which means daddy's on daycare duty. Woohoo! No, I love it. I'm actually enjoying getting to spend a lot of time with my kids. Usually I don't. I work second shift. So it's nice. We get to get up in the morning, have breakfast and stuff together, kind of play for a while. Mom usually goes to work in the mornings. Today she's doing a closing shift, so we'll get to hang out for a little bit. So if nothing else, guys, with this whole quarantine business nationwide, if nothing else, we come out of it with a better appreciation for family, close friends, and just life in general. Like, it's kind of exhausted to me now because I've watched so many other podcasters and stuff talk about this. But hopefully this is kind of a wake-up call on a lot of fronts. I'm not going to get into the political side because I don't do that on here. But I think it's definitely going to teach a lot of people to appreciate what they have, especially in this time where stuff like food and toilet paper, of all things. Who would have thought, right? Toilet paper. It's just paper, guys. People are going crazy, hoarding stuff, stockpiling, whatever you want to call it. I didn't personally stockpile anything, but I have what I need to get by. So, and just a reminder on that front too, just keep in mind all the folks that don't have what they need. Something that kind of hits me heavy is that this would be a very difficult time for all those homeless, especially homeless in general. But, yeah, I'm not going to get into politics, but just think about it, guys. A lot of the stuff that we have, cigars, newfound hobbies, it's all taken for granted on a daily basis. And I think this is going to open up a lot of people's eyes to the fact that our life here on this earth is very finite. And what we choose to do with that life means a lot. This is a very good cigar. Definitely going to buy this one again. That is for sure. So let's see here. We'll go ahead and run through the numbers. So price is something I didn't really get into a whole lot earlier. But for the four sizes that we have, I'll run through the prices really quick on you. These are all prices from Cigars International. I don't dive too deep. I just take the first one I see. So again, that's an online price. In store at your local B&M. might vary. We all know they have to make a little bit of money on top, right? So for the short Robusto, which is the 4x52, you're looking at $5.45 a stick. Again, these are all based off of divided by 20 because they all come in boxes of 20. CI does boxes of 20. I divide that by 20, gets you your stick price, right? So short Robusto, $5.45. The regular Robusto, which is what we have here today, the 5x54, is going to be about $5.65 a stick. Not too bad, right? Very reasonable, I would say. The Gordo, which is the 6x56, we're looking at $6.30, which is not too bad, right, for a Gordo. And then the other, just listed as another Gordo, I'm going to call it, personally, I'm going to call it the Fat Churchill because it's a 7-inch by 60, and that's going to be the $7.10 on that stick. So a little bit pricey, but for that longer stick, obviously more tobacco, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. So looking at the price for this particular stick, the Robusto, 5x54, we're looking at $5.65. I'm going to go ahead and give that we're going to give that a 4 on the price just because I think that's fairly cheap, especially for the quality of the tobacco, right? There's some contradicting numbers in that bio, right? So they said 20 years. I'm not exactly sure how that fits in, but it did say that pretty much the wrapper, binder, filler have all been aged for at least 6 years. So it is definitely high quality tobacco. Another thing I didn't get into earlier about the ash. So the ash being this lighter gray, very light gray, white color, that's been kind of known throughout the cigar community as a significant telltale sign that you have high quality premium tobacco in your stick. So price is going to be for construction. Like I said, I'm not going to dock any points for the construction, the wrapper issue. That's on me. So we're going to go ahead and give it a 5 on the construction, purely based on the fact that had I handled it a little bit better, had it not been rummaging around in the humidor with a bunch of other sticks with cellophane on them, some don't have cellophane, had some humidity issues, blah, blah, blah. It's a very well-constructed stick, I believe. Without the wrapper issue, I feel like the burn's been great. I had to touch it up the once, but that's because of the wrapper. So without the wrapper issue, it would have burned just fine. Didn't go out, didn't have to relight. It felt very firm to the touch before I lit it, and it still does. I mean, it loosens up a little bit, right, because it heats up and all that, but very good construction on this one. I'm very pleased with that. The cap, with the exception of the wrapper, held together very well. No splitting or tearing on that end. So construction's a 5. Flavor complexity, I'm going to go ahead and give that a 4 as well. Just because we did have a little bit different mix of flavors, right? We had the anise in there, a little bit of orange peel off the front, and kind of towards that the end of the first third when the ash dropped, that kind of came back. It's gone now, but it did come back. So the anise, the orange peel, citrus flavor. I'm not tasting a whole lot of what I would consider leather. The bio did say leather. I'm not tasting that a whole lot, but you do have a distinct flavor in that second half of the Nicaraguan tobacco and the Dominican twang. So that's nice. Good complexity of flavors. Nothing really got muddled together. Nothing was like overbearing, too strong. The pepper note in here is very mild, I would say. It kind of does give you that little bit of a blast on that first quarter inch maybe. So maybe a lot of Ligero in the tip there. But a very good cigar flavor and complexity wise. Overall experience today, I would say this would probably go well with another beverage. Maybe if you're a whiskey guy, it'd probably go good with that. Bourbon, take your pick. I think this is one of those cigars that would probably go good with just about anything. Probably even go good with your morning coffee, to be honest, but I already had mine. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4, just because it's been a very good stick, and it's been very enjoyable, actually. So let me do that math real quick. I sucked at math, had to take geometry 3 times. 17, 4. So that brings us to a 4.25. 4.25 out of 5 on the Big T scale. So a very good cigar. I definitely do recommend it. Again, this is the BG as in boy, G as in girl, Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, I believe is how they spelled it. So BG Meyer, and this is the Gigantes. Let me spell it for you. I'm sure you can figure it out, but Gigantes, Gigantes, Gigantes. It is rolled by the Camacho family, so very interesting because I haven't tried a whole lot of Camachos. I do have a Camacho Corojo sleeping in the Humi, and hopefully we'll get to that. Saving that for a later date, though. That's supposed to be a bolder flavor, bolder profile, so not really a morning cigar. But I would dare say that this would be good for anybody. Even some beginner smokers, which I would still consider myself a beginner smoker, although I've smoked a lot of cigars in my short period of time here. I think this will be year 2 for me. Started last year, early last year, I believe. I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But this is definitely worth trying, guys. So if you find yourself, once everything opens back up, or maybe you can find them online, I'm sure you can, the BG Meyer Gigantes line, try one of these out. So the Robusto is very well, and I know the flavor profile kind of differs by what size you have, right? So it might change if you go to that fat Churchill, might give you a little more to smoke. And then the short Robusto, which I believe is only about an inch shorter than this one. Yeah, it's a 4 and then a 52 ring gauge on the short Robusto. So you might not get too much of a different flavor. This is a very good blend, though. I do like this blend. I think the Brazilian Matafina binder is the key aspect here. That's been known to give a lot of good flavor. And I think the combination of the Dominican twang and the Nicaraguan filler in there goes very well together. The Dominican twang, like I said, kind of has that sweetness to it, and I think that kind of counterbalances kind of the bold, earthy flavors of the Nicaraguan tobacco. So that kind of evened out very well. Wrap it in that Brazilian Matafina binder, which has a little bit of a sweetness to it as well. I think kind of helps tone down those really deep, kind of earthy, peppery notes that you get from the Nicaraguan tobacco. So very good blend. Shout out to the blender, Rob Weiss. Rob Weiss, got to do some homework on you, brother, because this is a good cigar. So I might be doing some homework on him, trying to figure out a couple other blends that he's done. Maybe check those out. And as always, stay tuned for more episodes. I'm going to try and get out here a few more times, maybe one more time this week. The wife's got a couple days off, so maybe I'll come out and get another one wrapped up for you. But yeah, BG Meyer, give it a shot, guys. All right, I'm gonna head in, play with the kiddos for a little while, wait on this cable guy, and we'll see what happens. All right, stay safe, stay clean, don't get the virus. Be good, guys. I'll see you later.